Well,
we know we're just talking
we're not,
shit.
Yeah. No, I mean, the fourth option, the most elevated option, it is to sit around, wait, roll yourself a nice cone, and wait to see what Matt and Trey say about it.
well, I mean, as long as we're going in this direction, I mean, I wanted to bring it up, like, because I just I would like somebody to explain to me what the latest beef is, the drama report on Jimmy Dore versus AOC, because it seems like just a giant who cared to me, but like it's just. As best I can understand it, it has to do with people that are mad that AOC is not using the vote for Pelosi's leadership position to force another vote on Medicare for all, which will surely be defeated. But like activists or people think will be just force the vote or something. I mean, is this a thing? Is there anything here?
I don't know. I haven't kept up with this.
I do see Dora's point on this. I do. I'm sympathetic to it. And it is like there is a huge friction there where you're like, all right, we're starting a new type of politics where this is an electoral revolution. Oh yeah, I'm reelecting Nancy Pelosi as speaker.
Yeah.
Like I do kind of agree with that, but at the end of the day, I do think this is going to be one of those things that in 3 weeks, unfortunately, no one's really going to remember. And I also don't really think a vote for Medicare.
Yeah, that's where I get
a failed
up.
vote for Medicare. Like, I do think maybe it's instructive for some people to see like what Democrats vote against healthcare for all. But the thing is, they're always going to have obfuscation. It'll always get buried in the liberal and conservative media because they don't want to talk about it. I think
people already know.
Most people who are for Medicare for all know it's a problem of getting. And it's a problem of getting people who are in favor of Medicare for all but vote for normal Democrats to withhold that vote.
Yeah,
that's the whole problem.
This is the idea that I had about thinking about this, because it's like I know Felix, like to your point, like I do understand like that the first part of it, like like you must be aware on some point that Nancy Pelosi is your enemy, and if you're not, then like you are a fraud and a charlatan.
Yeah,
and the thing is like. That on its own, not voting for her or whipping votes against her leadership should be like a good enough fucking reason to do something. But it's when you add, it's just this idea of adding on this forcing a vote on Medicare for all. It becomes this just very stupid, and my brain always turns out. It becomes this question of like strategy and things like that. And I don't really see the point here because the vote's going to fail, and then like the way that people talk
I
about
don't
like,
expect
we need to
people
get people
waste
on
time
record
on symbolic stands. Like I understand it, but there have already been votes on different Medicare bills. We know where people stand. Doing it again, going through this ritual over and over again, it's like, well, let's see who supported. Well, Kamala fucking like supported it doesn't really mean anything.
Amber, like that's my bigger point here is we don't need a vote on this because we already know where the Democratic Party stands on Medicare for all because Joe Biden is fucking president now. And like this idea of sure, according to polls, Medicare for all is popular at a rate of about 88% if you're going just on Democratic voters. But guess what? The primary and the election itself is another kind of a poll. And like it would seem to be clear what Democratic voters actually think about or care about as far as Medicare for all, and like the people who support and don't support it. I mean, like, do we really need another a roll call, another demonstration of who does and doesn't support it?
I think the way to make sense of this is it's not really about anything that happens in the halls of Congress because we don't have a say in any of this. There's no strategy. Like if you decide that AOC should do a Medicare for all vote in exchange for voting for Pelosi, and if she doesn't, it means that she's on the wrong side, that she is on the side of the Democrats. That doesn't change anything about your life. It doesn't. You can't, and you cannot make her do it. Like there is no public to rally. There is no pressure to apply. Like the incentive structures of individual actors within government are independent of any like left, because there isn't a left. There's just a bunch of essentially media consumers and social media participants. And then, you've got orgs, but they're all separate and they don't have any kind of umbrella organization to coordinate their activities either. What this really is a part of the meta war that's going to now, that's already fighting in the progressive media sphere to determine essentially your demographic pitch in the coming Biden term. Like, who are you going to be speaking towards as a left media voice? Who are you going to be pitching yourself to in the new world of a Biden presidency, and which is going to be in many ways different than like trying to do left media under Trump. And so throwing down the gauntlet about like AOC now, she has a litmus test, and if she fails it, she must be condemned. That is putting a shit out there, and then that's a message to the audience where you stand relative to AOC and the Democratic Party. And if you say no, that's short-sighted, and you shouldn't be dismissing AOC like that, or it's more complicated. You're setting out a pitch to a different group of people, and this question is just a way for the sides to sort out in what is essentially a media nexus that operates the same way that sports media does. Like, you call into Mike and the Mad Dog and you talk about what the Giants should draft. That's the same conversation as saying whether AOC should demand a vote for Medicare for all. You have as little connection to their decision as you do to the front office of the Giants. But you can talk about it, and specifically you talk about it and you listen to people who have a point of view on those questions that you find amenable. And this is all about the greater question of like, who are you going to be talking to, and what like segment of the left media audience is going to be where you reside in the coming 4 years.
Yeah, and I think that the sports metaphor especially holds up, because you think about like someone just like whatever armchair quarterbacking, and they're like, what they should do is run the ball, and it's like, yeah, look, I understand what you're saying. It's not complicated what they should do, and they keep trying to say, oh, it's complicated. No, it's not complicated. It is, however, hard.
Yeah,
it is difficult. It's not a sticky wicket that you have to like navigate and figure out. It's like, no, it's just literally like lacking the brute force and power to be able to do it. And I think I think people's response to say, look, it's very simple. Yes, it is simple. It's also very difficult. It's very simple to lift 300 pounds. It's also very difficult.
The simple thing is finding a emotional like narrative whereby your powerlessness can be turned into like a sucker. Mm-hmm. Where, because if you're consuming left media, it's in the premise, it's on the context of being hyper aware of your powerlessness within the system and your powerlessness over elected officials. And how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to synthesize that into your like understanding of the world? And that comes with the way the emotional attitude that you have towards people in power, and then you seek media that will reflect and validate that emotional response, and then that stands in for action you can't take in the real world of politics.
God. Holy shit!
I told you.
Sorry.
That's Kitty.
Fuck. It's okay.
Sorry.
Squirrel? What? Holy mackerel.
Amber Squirrel just showed up on the Zoom call.
Wow.
She's great. Sorry. Politics, they're very important.
Matt was making a very intelligent point.
I know.
And we all got distracted by a squirrel.
That's literally
squirrels are better than anything I'm ever going to say in my life.
No,
it's 90% of the reason people tune into my backyard stream is to watch the squirrels run behind me.
They're charming.
Yeah, they're rat dogs.
Yeah.
No, but okay. But I was listening, and yeah, I think a lot about this is it is literally psychological. It's literally people trying to find a way to rationalize their powerlessness and holding people to, let's say, like pretty like meaningless, arbitrary standards of symbolic action. Is a do this to prove you still care about me, and it's like, I get that, but it won't do anything.
I mean, outside the realm of symbolic action, though, I think it's not too much to ask that, like, the people who are supposed to represent us in Congress, like, maybe make a bigger fucking.
But they can't.
A fucking like
we can't make them. Yeah. We have no. I'm not saying. Oh my God.
Or just like
I'm not saying that we never will be able to. I'm not being like, just let them do whatever they want. There's no hope. But like at the current moment, fixating on like anybody in power as though you have a relationship to them that is in any way equitable, that you are part of any public that can meaningfully press them and change the calculus of their decision is wrong. That will change if we're going to have a future for this country and this planet. That will change. But like the challenge is figuring out how to change that, not how to like divine who are the good and the bad guys in politics, because at the end of the day, no matter what's in their heart, they're bad guys because they're part of a system whose incentives only run towards evil.
Yeah, they're bad guys because we have no leverage.
Yes.
Like if we're going to people need to stop thinking of politicians as good or bad people and start thinking of them as tools.
Absolutely. And because the powerlessness makes us vulnerable to their whim. It's like it really does, and it is up to their whim. But the cumulative effect of like the political affect or personalities or virtues of individual politicians is never going to accrue to stand up to the demands of capital.
I would add to like whim, even more so than whim. It's every other person that does have leverage on them. And I always hated the whole, like, I remember seeing Van Jones stump at a draft Warren event back in like 2015. And he's like, imagine how, he was talking about campaign finance reform, and which is such a cute thing to think about. It's like the left-wing version of being into tort reform. He was saying, imagine, when all of our Democratic politicians are freed from the restrictions placed on them by by Wall Street and big finance, and it's like, okay, look, I'm the first to admit that free political will basically doesn't exist in America. However, you could set them free and they would run right back into the cage. Yep. Most of them. And it is worse. I do think one of the reasons people like gravitated towards Bernie Sanders is because they got that he actually is an honest man. But that's just as irrelevant as someone who is a bastard now at this point, because he's not running anymore.
Like Bernie was worth supporting because Bernie was supporting because his virtue plus a movement could have done something. But virtue minus a movement in an individual politician, certainly south of being president, and certainly any members of Congress, we are at the mercy of the system until we change the matrix, until we change their decision matrix, and until they have to factor us into their decisions. And right now they don't have to. And our challenge is to change that. And we can get mad at them along the way, and we should.
Right.
And we should certainly find enemies and know how to fight against them. But our emotional relationship to politicians is completely beside the point.
We need to be a little more cold-blooded, honestly.
Yeah.
It's just to be like, this person is on our side but can't do anything for us. This person will never be on our side, but if we have enough power, they're going to work for us anyway.
But the challenge there is that if you take the emotions out of it, then it's just a hard, challenging job.
Yeah.
And people would rather it be a psychodrama that they can participate in, because that stands in for their sense of, God damn it, I can't stop looking at this little squirrel buddy.
I know, she's
Look
so
at this
great.
little guy. It stands in for like a clear-eyed understanding of the situation. Like it's the baby laxative we cut the cocaine with, is that emotional connection to these narratives that are never going to go away, but that it's our challenge to just on a daily basis try to discharge away from our like sense of self, or else they'll overtake us and we will lose our connection to the moment, and we'll start running down blind hallways into dead ends.
Mm-hmm.
I would just think on a basic level though, like anyone who's trying to rep the progressive or even socialist brand in politics should obviously not support Nancy Pelosi. Not just not support Nancy Pelosi, but like actively be insulting her publicly and working to destroy her politically. To the second point though, just like to reiterate the thing, I don't see any point in a symbolic vote on Medicare for all, because as you stated earlier, Amber, all the Democrats who ran for president in 2020, like almost all of them pretended to support Medicare for all, and we all know that was full of shit. And guess what? The only one who didn't pretend to support it won.
Yep.
So I mean, it's been tallied up. Like we know already. And then and also these symbolic votes that we know we're going to lose, like it's fucking demoralizing. Like this is what we're working for. Like just like we need to get everyone on record about how bad they all are. But the actual thing that we're working for is as far away as it's ever been, if not more so.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't want to. I guess show trial is not the right word. Most people don't want to, a grand reveal. They want politics to happen. They want, politics for most people is a means to an end, not, an identity or finding out which side you're going to be on. That's like a media thing. That's like a weird cultural thing. Like, and I think the good news is, I mean, not to be too much of a downer, but like normal people broadly do support Medicare for all. So that's the most important thing. Like we are there to that. We're to that point. We just don't have any power at all. And that's the bigger, longer
that's the real
build.
Question. Yeah.
But we're over that first fucking hump, which is like, I remember during Obamacare, like the way they scared people was insane. Like normal people. I mean, obviously there were like the Tea Party zealots, but people were like, I don't know, maybe this isn't a good idea. Like maybe because there were multiple levels of propaganda against it, and some of it was aimed at people who were like, well, I'd like better health care for people, and I don't know, Medicare for all sounds good. Oh wait, this is going to be the problem. Oh yeah, no, that seems. Oh wait, it's going to have these political repercussions, and I think we're past that point, and that's good. It's just that like now we have to work on building, the we that can actually like yield some amount of power. But like we're on the same page. We have a huge constituency of people that support Medicare for all. It's just now we need to get big and strong.